he would say to you, "Hey, bro, don't hate the player, hate the game. You need to play the game." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that's the truth.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Bamboo Ceiling podcast, quarantine version. Today, we're going to be talking about stereotypes, specifically the perfect Hmong son. I grew up in the typical Hmong household where my parents compared me to someone else, and I was the oldest son. And so I got a lot of comparisons. And so I wanted to pose this question. So who is that guy, right? Who is that perfect Hmong son? And what are some of his characteristics? And where is he now? So Duck, for you, who was that guy?
So growing up, there were a couple of them, but some of the characteristics of that person are, dude's gotta have good grades, dresses good, his belt line is super high, doesn't sag, no drinking, no smoking, and he agrees with his parents, right? Because for them to call you a son that Mamnong Lu or listens to your parent, they basically are trying to say that you agree with everything they say. And that was the guy I was always getting compared to. So how about you, Ku?
So you're saying he has to be very obedient and
Obedient, yeah. Mm-hmm.
okay. I think for me, kind of relating to you, very highly educated. They gotta go to post-secondary school, like get college, get a degree. I also think one that because we're such communal people that you got to know how to address people, your elders, proper addressing elders, know how to smooth talk and know how to talk to them, know how to small talk in a way that is very calm, in a calm demeanor, and not abrasive. So because you honor, you respect them. So you know how to go around the room, do your rounds, and be able to address and conversate and talk to elders. You know how to show up properly and behave in a proper manner at a proper time. And your parents care less what you do outside of them and outside of their people and the people that they honor, but to them, it means the world to them if you show up to people that they care, they respect, they honor, and that's super valuable. So if you can do that and you can and go clubbing on Friday night without them seeing it, it doesn't even matter. So all you got to do is show up to when it matters to them, and it's when you show up to the people that they care value. So
Yeah, I hated that guy. Well, and it's not so much the person, but like the idea of him, right? It's just that perfect, fake, proper talk mamaing guy, and
Yeah.
and it's because we were compared to that guy like on a constant basis, and so, but as I look back at it, I do admire some traits because even though I thought it was fake, but because he was trying to communicate with Yoji so much that he was like a bridge for that gap for our generations. Not he was able to relate to the our parents' generation better. He was able to communicate to them better. So I always wanted to be able to do that, but I think I resented him so much that I said, "Forget it. I'm never gonna go there."
well, it's like it was so fake, I think
Yeah.
what triggered me was the fact that like you show up and you act one way that is super proper and you get all the respect in the world from the elders, right? And then I see you go acting up at the club and I'm like, dude, this is a totally different person. That I'm like, this is who the parents actually value and want you to look like. It's so fake. Like there's no integrity or there's no honesty in the character of this person that is modeled to you. And for me, that's a trigger because I value you being authentic. Because if you're not authentic, I can't trust you. Like, there's no way for me to trust someone that lives two different lifestyles in that way, because it then messes up your mental psyche, you know?
Hey, if that guy was here to respond, this is probably what he would say to you. Hey, bro, don't hate the player, hate the game. You need to play the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that's the truth. You
Right.
got to know how to play the game.
Play the game,
Play
bro.
the game
Yeah.
right. You
Mhm.
play the game right
Yeah.
and the timing. But I do know that game ain't gonna work for the next generation. I promise you that.
I
They're
know that.
gonna
Yeah.
call you out for it, and they're gonna make sure that you get in line, and you ain't gonna have any buddies to hang around with. I'm gonna promise you
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
What about the guy that says I've never been compared?
Then you're the one that people are comparing their kids to. You know, you're that guy we're talking about right now.
Yeah. It just means that good things are being said around you.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
but you know what? I would hate to be that guy though, because you would never hear the truth, right? Like no one would actually ever like tell you the truth. Yeah, I thought that if you are that guy that everyone's comparing their kids to, you'd probably live this fake life your whole life, you know. That's kind of my opinion
But
on
what
that.
do you think will happen to that guy nowadays? Like, I haven't heard of any anymore of those guys that were the model son or son-in-law. Like, where are those guys and how did their life actually turn out?
Dude, I think they've all been exposed, you know, like they don't have any real like friends, no real relationship, no true friends. A lot of those dudes are like out and about doing nothing.
So you're saying a blanket statement of all of them has failed in life because they used all their energy to please people
Yes.
at their early ages.
Basically, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so in theory, they failed in
They
life.
failed in life, yeah.
I guess I wouldn't say a blanket every person fell in life, but I guess as I'm thinking back of y'all, the people that I was compared to, a lot of them didn't really make it. You know, one of my cousins is 40, has his master's degree, and he's still living with his parents, you know, not working, jobless for like 10 years, you know. And so you know, I wouldn't say every single one of them, but I would say for the ones that I know at least, they didn't do well. Why do you think that is, Gu? Like, why do you think that people that had those, or the people that we were being compared to, aren't successful?
Well, I do feel like if you're unhealthy and you can't be honest with yourself, it messes with you mentally, and that you will crumble in time if you don't have, an outlet to process that and be, when you're living a life that is not true to you, it wears on you. And I do think that if you never deal with that, you will end up in a place where you can go crazy or break down or, go off the rails and do something crazy to vent all that negative or energy towards. And so
And I can only imagine like all the pressure that's on him, pressure on him 24/7 to like meet these expectations. Like I don't know, I can only imagine how that felt like, and him probably cracking under the pressure. So who is that guy now, right? In 2020, who does that guy look like now? Or who is that guy, right?
See, for me, I don't think that guy exists anymore. You know, he doesn't. I just can't picture that guy. You know, I have kids, and I'm not comparing my kids to anyone. I'm not setting these standards. There is no modeled Mondu for me nowadays, and that's just speaking from my point of view. I don't know about you, Apple and Ku.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way as you, Duck. Like I've overcompensated where I saw how much it affected me when I was being compared to. And so for my nieces and nephews, I don't compare them to my other nieces and nephews at all. I do have expectations that carried over still. My goal is for them to be successful, but I see that some of the expectations that were put on me, I still hold. Like, if they're successful, I still expect them to go to school, right? Go to college. Why does success have to be tied to school, right? That was like a question I was asking myself. And yeah, the numbers show it, but I think a lot of it is because the expectations that were put on myself, I still kind of carry some of those. And so, yeah, my guy, he kind of doesn't really exist, but there still are like some expectations.
Yeah, I think we've been doing a good job managing expectations or managing comparisons, as we've been over compared to everybody that was perfect in our parents' world. I do think that even though we don't have that, right, we still, what does that look like for those nowadays that still compare their kids to other people? Like, what does that look like in the 22nd century, 21st century? 21st century, what does that look like now? I do think now what it can look like is someone who has a perfect family where their kids are on Instagram, their kids are talented, they are bilingual, they still go and do the meat butchering at family or community gatherings. They still know how to talk Hmong and English. They still know how to address people. I think those are things that have carried over of what it still can look like, even though we don't compare those that come after us. But those are still some things where I feel like we're still going through, as even though we don't compare a lot anymore. But how do we still manage those expectations, and what does that look like moving forward, so that we don't project our insecurities to others that come after us? I work with a lot of teens, and I know that disrespect is a huge trigger for me. And so what I do try not to do is like try not to kind of lay down the hammer, but have more conversations of disrespect when I get disrespected where I work. But what does that look like so that we don't project our insecurities to our kids or students?
Yeah, I think it's natural to compare, right? As humans, we will at one point compare somehow, some way. But I think it's to manage that, right? Um, and to realize if you can remember who you or how you were compared, I think that helps out a lot. Um, Another thing is like, what is your goal for, especially as for parents, right? What are your goals for your kids, and does the method really matter that much, right? It's just like earlier when I was saying, like, I think my goal for my nieces and nephews are just for them to be more successful than me, and um whatever that looks like, it should be okay. It doesn't have to be education, right? And so managing that part of it.
Yeah, so I have a high schooler, or actually, a high schooler and a middle schooler, and it's not so much comparing or judge them, but more so the purpose, right? The purpose behind it. Like when I'm hard on them, it's more so geared towards like a purpose. Like, hey, I want to drive responsibility. I want to drive like ethics into you. That's why I'm doing what I do. Versus, I want you to be like this guy. I want you to be like that guy, or I just want you to be a certain way.
For
So that's kind of how I
face.
manage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do still value respect highly, and setting up the guardrails of, hey, you can still be respectful, choose to agree to disagree, and be respectful or respect elders in a way that you can honor them. And I do think that that's one thing I will push down to the next generation, or try to hand that baton off for sure. uh, and so I do think there's a shadow side or a danger to not having any expectations, though. If we don't have any expectations for the next generation and not set up some nice guardrails, we can enable them to do what they want to do and just totally completely like disrespect everybody in the world and f everybody off. So there's a caution to it that we do need to set some manageable expectation so that they don't go off the rails and just like just be out of order in every area of their life. So I do think that there's some good in that. And so, but yeah, I think it's all about how do we balance that, manage expectations, but also not enable them because they need to be ingrained in some values, and so that's pretty much it. We'd love to hear from you guys, especially the lady side. This is from a guy's perspective, but what are some standards or some stereotypes you had to measure up to that your parents measured you up to others? We'd love to hear from you guys, as this is more from a guy perspective. So if there's any other characteristics that we didn't say, we'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to chat with you guys and and talk about it, as we know that this is something that we all want to be affirmed by our parents and just who we are, and everybody's different. So we'd love to hear from you guys and go from there. But on that, I'm signing out from this week.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode of The Bamboo Ceiling, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review on iTunes. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at #TheBambooCeiling. Until next time, use your voice.